forgot about that. Bathroom. Oh. Well, hello. I think Builder, you're the only one I saw in chat so far. Congrats on finishing your taxes. That shit sucks. Oh, hold on. I know y'all have audio. Why do I not have audio? Oh, am I not plugged in? My headphones are not plugged in. Ah, there we go. It's always something with the audio with me, isn't it? Anyway, welcome in. I know the event is still a week and a half away, but I am running out of time to get this done. So we're gonna try to, I've been doing some work off stream, of course, and we are gonna get some progress made today. Let's see, what did I do? I stripped my Mark II of all the electronics. This is the pile of the old wiring diagram that we're gonna sort through. Made sure the cage fits. Again, this is a 2019 End War Containment Recruit cage with the awesome End War Inferno wheels and some, I can't remember if they're the End War exclusive Fang revamps or just the Fang revamps, but Fang revamps regardless, which are an incredible motor. And I did have a kind of feed guide extension on here. I decided not to cut it all the way off because it's not gonna hurt. And I should have enough time to test it to make sure it's not interacting with the magazine at all. Because right now, the way it looks, it doesn't interact at all. I should just give a little extra guidance for the darts feeding into the flywheels that way. So we got that put in there. Of course, got another reprint of the solenoid cage that gets fit right nice in there. Once I'm about to button this up for kind of good, I'm going to go through and do a little bit more supporting around this cage. So glad that wasn't the flywheel cage. I've got a little bit too much cut away right here, so I'm just going to try to backfill that with probably some milliput. Just to kind of make that connection a little more solid right there. Give a little more support to the flywheel cage so it doesn't rattle itself to bits. Because this foot section right here, because of where, you can see it on the old shell, where my fire selector switch goes in this design, I have to cut it up. I've already done some super glue reinforcing on the solenoid cage. I'll probably do some more once we make that cut. And I think that is where we're gonna start. I know I titled this wiring up the strife, but probably gonna do, as long as the person doesn't crash into the guide. Yeah, so let me pull this up and make sure you can see. Also, let me make sure I can keep chat visible for me. There we go. So this arm here is the guide for the pusher. There's the actual pusher foot. It rides right up in there. So as you see, there's no direct interference there. So it should be just fine. And again, hopefully that's something we'll figure out tonight. And I can always just trim that back a little bit more. There's a very nice feed lip flare on the containment crew cage. But it is an HvZ blaster, so reliability is key. So a little extra help's not gonna kill it. Where should we start? What I want to do first is I want to get the solenoid. I had to leave for work before I got this bit done this afternoon. But I want to actually get the solenoid in the cage, so I don't have these screws just sitting on my table waiting to be swept off by my clumsy self. in the KH guide. Yeah. Short mag well change. It doesn't. So the short mag well change actually doesn't take up any extra space than the regular stock mag well. It which is really convenient. I have no clue how it ended up that way for the Talon mags, because that is something based off of their design work, not 007, who designed the kit. Probably has something to do with in all their adapters and whatnot. They make most of them cross-compatible, and so they had to be similar. Fox, how you doing? Welcome in for the night. I'm wondering if our reinforcements on the inside here got just a little too thick, in which case I will break out the files. I think they did. Yeah, I got a little too much of a fillet built up. Oh, you guys can't see anything I'm looking at. So I just went in with some CA glue, some super glue. Light. Whew. Already making a mess. Just went in with some CA glue and kind of covered my corners on the inside here. And the ones up the walls are fine, but just kind of at the front here and at the back here, I got just a little too much of a fillet. And so where it's really gonna be in the front. I hope it's not down the sides too much. It doesn't feel like it's down the sides too much, but definitely up in the front. The CA glue just kind of pooled in the corner there a little bit too much. Geez, none of these files have serrations on the tip. How am I gonna? I just have to go at them with a X-Acto blade. Well, I'm gonna try a file first before I bring a knife back out. Yeah, it's biting. Yeah. So yes, sorry for the filing noises. I know that's not the best kind of ASMR on the internet. Yeah. Anyone else in chat working on anything? Anybody else modding? Also, is anyone going to UMBC? I expect to see anyone. I mean, I know there's a lot of people going, a lot of East Coast people going. So, fun. It's a little bit better. Still like 2 millimeters out though. It's gonna take a while. doesn't, I need to fix my Chronos. When I'm done folding laundry. Yeah, that's see, I'm in the weird spot of I move out of this apartment in less than a week. So like I should fold my laundry. But also I move in less than a week, so why would I fold my laundry? Why would I put my laundry away? I need to do it regardless, and it will help. I would like to attend Saturday. You still have there? Oh, I hope to see you there. Hope you can make it happen. I'm simply excited because I haven't gotten to do anything Nerfy in at least a year. So, yeah, again, shout out to Morox Mods for inviting me to join their squad, and then actually convincing me to do it. So I am very excited. Sadly though, I know probably y'all don't want to hear this, but once BC happens, I'm gonna be MIA for a while again. Gigging most of the summer, so I will not be nerfing. I'm hoping I can find an event to do in kind of late June before I go back out to California in July. But all of those are not right now problems. Because I get to play HvZ this month. That's a wondrous thing. I swear to God. Serious. Because this is a really obnoxious thing to have to like undo. I'm just gonna put it in this cage and we're gonna see if we break the cage, and if we break the cage, we just print another one. And I just changed the print settings a little bit so that it is a little less sketchy feeling. Oh, where's my Allen? Where's my Allen? There it is. Is this a Mario Kart song? I've got to know. I don't think so. Yeah, I'm just gonna reprint this cage. I don't have the spoons to deal with that right now, which is fine because I can do basically the rest of the wiring harness, and I can still use that to route my wire, to help route my wires and stuff. Just tack the solenoid together with its bits so we don't lose any parts. Printed one for the generic. Yeah, it's got some sections. I can show you. This edge here sketches me out. This leg has broken on every single one I've actually installed and run through. And then this seam here along this foot is also where it usually breaks for me. And then I just had one print. It's that print we were working with last time, that on the top bridge piece here just didn't print well for whatever reason and was delaminating. So I don't know if I ran it off in some wet filament or whatnot, but it's a really great thing that lets us do really cool things to our blasters. And like, of course, it's not gonna feel super great because it, it's not, you know, this is not designed to take this. Of course, whatever solution we use is going to be a little janky, but it's not the most svelte conversion I've ever done. So where sometimes I wish people could convince me to like the Griffin again. So I know people love the Griffin, but I don't know. I think I've built 2 of them now. And neither one of them has felt very, well, first of all, I haven't enjoyed the build process on either one. Just the fitment was kind of fresh. Again, I don't want to shit talk it, because again, I know it's a popular design and I love everyone who designs for our hobby. But that is definitely a design that would lend itself better to a solenoid. I'm avoiding through going forward. Yeah, I want to play with the out of darts one because I know it's smaller than even the Fly Rule of the World one. The weight's really nice in a primary blaster, but anything you're not planning to like shoulder and have feel like a battle rifle, I don't think I would want that much weight. I know the 35 mil solenoids are even heavier, by a couple grams at least. Yeah, I would not want to. I would not want that in a sidearm. But again, I want to try. I think I want to. Maybe it'll be my post. My midsummer build will be a. Actually, that'd be great because I think I have a spare Devil ZV or HvZ flywheel motor board with the built-in MOSFETs, the concept pistol. But it would be the solenoid-driven Meowser, the old Fusion Designs Han Solo pistol, which of course I would use the Han Solo body kit for. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun to try and see what the solenoid on the sidearm feels like. There are so many parts from so many different designers. Yeah, yeah, I love the concept of the platform. I just don't enjoy working with it, which again is a shame because it's the kind of thing I would love to love in the hobby. Given how many options there are, given how modular it is, I think I still have the one I built for myself, which is the first one I did, which I spent like a month only printing parts for that. But because everything prints flat, the second you don't have perfect bed adhesion, that part is warped, or the second you pull it while the part's still warm, it warps. And then that's not going to fit together great. And man, I wish I could say good things about the Griffin. And again, I know people love it, and I love that people love it. I also love that so many designers jumped on it as a way to make their ideas happen. Because again, some of the kits people made for it look so cool. I think the one thing I can definitely say good about the Griffin is it is very slim. The core kind of receiver section is very slim and minimal, which leads itself to a lot of possible kind of functional cosplay applications, which I am a fan of. Especially now that we have different sizes of flywheels, so we can get slimmer profile blasters in their entirety. Okay, so enough talking about the Griffin. I need to set a trigger. So that's the one that's wired. I'm gonna try to not have to undo. I'm gonna try to have to do as little soldering as possible for this rebuild. because again, the wiring is mostly fine. I ran the power leads really strangely on the old version. I'm gonna do it better this time, which I think I should try to do all my shell cutting, and then I can try to do all of my soldering at once. It is 10. So let's start with the shell cutting, which means I need my stock, because we are converting this side folder stock into a battery stock. Which is just gonna mean I have to go back to, there's that battery. I'm gonna need that, I'm gonna need this, eventually. Still working on Fire Griffinwood. Awesome. What's the programming portion you're working on? Are you trying to do like a I know nothing about programming. I'm gonna sound like an idiot, but like a Raspberry Pi kind of computerized thing, like a FDL or Pew Pew style, or going the little PCB route. Hold on, I'm gonna find this stock. I'll be right back. Like that, but oh, don't be like that. I realize we should probably also have a battery to test with, so get that turning. Okay, I don't think I missed anything in chat, so that's something. So let me try to outline for y'all what's gonna happen. Oh man, what screws? Go to this. That's fine. Again, planning to get to do aesthetics for this build before UMBC, but that might again be a midsummer thing, which would be fun because then we just keep live streaming this project, which is not a bad thing to do in the slightest. I know someone had asked about my original strife swoop nose front end, which I think is a Blaster Revolution design. I still really like that aesthetically, and I might go back to it, but for the time being, I'm interested in this kind of super compact because with that stock folded and this slight barrel extension on, which gives you a much longer lower Picatinny rail, which is important if you're trying to run something like a crooked cousin. It is still about the same size as a standard strife, which I think is really cool in concept. With this battery battery box extension. The stock doesn't really like to be folded though. It was fine on the last version because I had a stock extension piece, so that, and this is without the extension. It's about an inch short on my length of pull, which is just enough to barely notice it, but not enough to be like, okay, I need to fix that. So we'll see what happens there. Sorry, there's so much stuff on this table. I keep being out of frame. So the current iteration of this is something I'm working on designing. And this might be how I end up running it, because the batteries I run are full amp hour 2S batteries. I've never had one die through a day of gameplay, though I usually carry a spare. So right now this is just a 2-half clamshell box that slides into this void in the back of the stock here. It's a little picky about how it goes in. And regardless, I need to iterate on this design a couple times. But that simply fills that void there. And so the plan is to run the wiring through this gap here and be able to have a tension point for the wiring in this void, and then have the wires come out here and jump to this inlet on the battery box, and have again have the wiring run with just enough slack that it can be open and be happy, but that will still give us the flexibility through the joint to be able to fold the stock for like transport. Now of course you could say I could just make it so that the I could disconnect that wire and just pull the stock off, but I'd rather not have unnecessary connectors in this blaster, because I had that last time, and you run out of shell space with a strife rather quickly, and I've already taken away a lot. Oh, okay, sorry. Arduino Mini, OD value MOSFET switch. Yeah, okay. Battery and grip, Griffins and more. Cool. Yeah, I mean, from what I know, that sounds awesome. I don't have very much knowledge of those things, but it sounds dope. Yeah, it's kind of just the simplest battery stock solution I could come up with. I really like this stock. It's super comfortable. And it's like the one 3D printed part I ever used that I didn't print myself. Well, I guess the flywheel cage in this case, but yeah, it's a F10555 worker stock. And again, if I just leave it as that clamshell with the full amp hour battery, I shouldn't need a way to quick swap it. Ideally, I do a thumb screw door within one of the side panels of this that would let you fish your battery in, fish your battery out, without just undoing one thumb screw instead of doing all 3 setting screws. But that's where that's at right now. Again, we'll see how that turns out. Putting in the thumb screw door on that design is very low on my priorities, to be fully honest. So what we're gonna do probably the rest of the stream, I'm probably not gonna do any soldering tonight, just because it's already 10 o'clock and I'm tired and I don't really want to burn myself. We will probably deal with our body work, which is really drilling 2 holes in the stock. So a hole here which will be our pass-through wire and connection point by the hinge, and then we'll get our hole set for our actual battery box in here. The other thing, okay, so the good thing is I don't have to paint this stock. I'm not painting this stock. So I can do this wiring. I can do this wiring before, sorry, I'm smacking my headphones. Before I paint it. Right? I can. So the flywheel and the solenoid come out, and I'm gonna try to route all the wires once and have them, and if I want to tack them down to just keep everything in place, I'll just use super glue, so it's just a matter of dabbing on some isopropyl. I'm gonna do the, yeah. And I shouldn't have to glue this switch in. So that should be perfectly fine. That should be perfectly fine. And what, worst case, I go to paint it and I have to cut wires and resolder a couple joints. That's fine. So let's start. I'm more worried about the stock, so I should do that when I'm less tired. One, because I've done this switch replacement before, and two, this is injection molded, so it's going to take what is effectively post-processing way better. So question one is, where do we place? We should place probably towards the center of this gap, so we have the most material on any side. And we're gonna go in from about there. The inside of this. I don't think I can take this apart. Come on. No, but that's just an insert there, so that's all printed. Which, like, full transparency. My worst error since I just tape over the ends of the wires. Oh yeah, there's always that. Just mask off the wire connections, I guess. But like, I also might be super lazy and I might not sand the shell before UMBC. Because if I'm not gonna have time to paint it, I don't think I'm gonna take the, well, I could. That's a not tonight problem. But yes, I could just do that. The good thing is, with the way the stock is constructed, the actual kind of the stock attachment point pivot is all injection molded, and I think glued to the stock body, and then there's a little flashing extra design bit right there. So if I royally screw this over, my brother is a much better CAD wizard than I am, and I could just strip this down to the injection molded parts and, you know, drive over to Greenville and sit down with him and be like, hey, I need you to make me a thing. And we could figure it out that way. Or I just do something else, but like, that's kind of our worst case scenario. So I'm saying all of this to convince myself to be less scared about drilling into this. The first step is going to be to choose where we drill in from, because we can go, we don't want to go straight back. We want to, I think we just center on this section as much as possible. Go like there. And then, I mean, then we'll have just a little red and black wire just running on this little slight diagonal. Which, like, that's kind of a long distance to bridge. But with any luck, I can get them to sit kind of close to the shell. And if at all possible, I'm gonna try to bring down the profile of this box a little bit so that the side fold will be a little happier. Again, those are all like, I have extra time. I need to get this at least mostly sorted out so I can actually do some drill and get comfy with it before the event. Yeah, oh, excuse me. So we do that and then just handle one cut at a time. Let's start, I wish, oh, this might be really obnoxious to do because I only have one drill bit and it's quite small. That's a problem. And I don't have like a old soldering iron I can use to melt through. Well, stock. I think you just got spared for the night. Because if I'm using 6, yeah, no, because I think I've only got like a 4mm drill bit in my apartment. Yep. All right. Well, that means the stock is next time's problem, which hopefully Friday. I'll claim it now. Hold me to it, chat. Next stream will be Friday night, and we'll figure out the stock. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up this switch, which I already started marking off and doing the layout for. So I'm just gonna start chipping away at this. This is weird. So yeah. Wait, how long have we been live? I know I didn't hop on until 10 minutes. We've been live for 45 minutes. I just talked about doing stuff for 35 minutes, and this is the first actual work I've done on the project all stream. Oh, we are so productive tonight. Just put a fresh blade on this, but then I used it as a drill bit. So at that point, quick tip, buy X-Acto blades in bulk. The only ones you ever need, oh, as I say that, as I pull my last one, I have a few more spares, but that's funny. This pack, this is like a 25 pack that like has the most spring loaded here, and it also has a spot for you to dump them. And they're just the number 11 kind of standard X-Acto blade, and it was like $6. Whereas if you get like a 5 pack, it's like $4. And it's like, no thank you. I'm gonna not just push. I'm gonna use the power tool. put too many things on this table. Just gonna give me some pilot holes to work out of. Again, hopefully I can get this to be a good friction fit again so I don't have to glue the switch in place at all. Oh, don't creep like that. Harrison, did you think I was going to be doing all this ridiculousness to this strife when you traded me for it? This thing is being quite thoroughly abused before it was even given a life. But hey, it'll be one hell of a strife when I'm done with it. Oh shoot, I forgot to... Sorry. Why am I doing that? I might need this. Just go over there for now. Oh yeah, also, iPro would have been a good idea while I had the power tool out, but live and learn. I hope this is showing, I hope some people will watch these streams and realize that you really don't need a Dremel to do integrations. Like, a Dremel is a wonderful tool, don't get me wrong, and if I had one, I would definitely be using one right now. However, I do not. And so, hand tools it is. Have I gone through a dozen X-Acto knives? X-Acto blades. Working on this project, yes. Am I gonna go through more? Yes, however. X-Acto plates are cheap. Honestly, I think if you want to do any sort of shell work integration, you really just need 3 tools. X-Acto knife, a good pair of snips, and a set of hobby files. It's kind of like very big adjustments, medium, big to can be controlled adjustments to very fine adjustments, and just patience will get you what you want. Sorry. Pardon me while I communicate with some wonderful people. Perfect. Wow, I've really just jumped around a lot this stream. So now that we have our pilot hole hogged out, I'm just going to try to bring it to square. At least as close to square as I can get roughly. And the good thing is I have multiple points of reference for this, because not only do I have the switch in front of me, I also have an existing example. Oh, see, I did have to go into there. Thought I did. Oh, and then that's right, I routed wires through that corner. That's where that lead came through. So flywheel power might go, no. Yeah. Okay. So my pilot hole is a start, but is nowhere near large enough. However, I do have a lower limit to how low this hole can go. So I'm gonna start there, and then we can creep our way higher and higher in the shell. So, yeah. Oh, you know what the really sad thing is? Hey, I just need a phone flinger. We went through a long list of things we could do, and what we landed on was my original idea of setting my fire selector switch into our shell. So what you're seeing right now is the Mark II right shell half and the Mark 2.5 right shell half. And you can really see I'm building the same blaster just in half dart. I mean, I'm very likely going to do some things different, especially when it comes to the wiring, just because I think I'm thinking about it differently right now than I did, 4 years ago? Just under 4 years ago, wow. Yeah, definitely time this guy got a little bit of an upgrade, even if it's not much of one. Yeah. For example, what I'm thinking right now is that on this one I ran, power came in at this point because I had a split in the power lead happening here. And so the flywheel power came in here, down here to a MOSFET and a switch, and then it ran under the primary trigger and under the selector, the wires for the selector switch, through a channel, this channel here, to the XT60 on the flywheel cage here. And I'm thinking of just running it down in here and along just the top here, under, maybe even kind of through the solenoid cage. No, under the solenoid cage. So down this way. So instead of even bothering with that channel, I can get rid of that out of the way and just have the power lead go here to an XT60 that connects right there. But again, that's not actually what we're solving today. And you guys probably couldn't see any of that because I was leaning forward. We're doing things. We're working on getting some of the electronics seated. And I am quite tired and rambly, so I don't really know if I'm gonna get to anything past getting the fire selector fitted. But I don't know, we talked about the plans for the battery stock a little bit, so I'm gonna go back later and get a preview for what those will be. I'll probably try to do, probably next time I get to work on this off stream, I'll probably make myself do some of the design work. Because I also need to like shorten the top rail that comes with this Piranha kit. It's really nicely designed two-part top rail. But there's, you know, like a gauge block, that much extra rail on it now, which is about 3 sections of pick rail, that I need to take out so that it will, you know, fit and look good. Because I do plan on running a red dot on this blaster. You know, Nerf blasters are the most accurate things in the world, much less flywheelers being the most accurate thing in the world. Though we did talk on a previous stream about testing bearing scars, B-cars on flywheel blasters, because from all the testing I've seen, they impact the velocities dramatically less. So that means that they will impact your performance left if you are not actively propulsing it. Okay, and Kelly's here. Welcome back. Oh, don't worry about the notification. I did not pre-plan this stream. Oh, the links. Let's talk about the links real quick. I'll go grab it. Yeah, red dots are they can be very helpful. So yes, last time on stream we built this beautiful, beautiful beast. At least mostly, and since then I have indeed gotten it tuned up, and we were having fun with Kelly not being able to guess the theme, and if you can tell now, you are indeed correct that it is a House Atreides themed Lynx from Dune. Just kind of was fun. It was funny because I started planning to build a Lynx when I was actually re-listening to Dune, because one of my friends started rereading it and was freaking out about it. I was like, oh, I should revisit that. Such a good book, such a good it's a cool world and a cool take on sci-fi, but yeah. So again, obviously hasn't earned a name yet, has not been into war, so it definitely has not had the chance to earn a name, though if it does, it will probably be something Dune themed. And honestly, this is one I would be willing to make 1-for-1 because it would be something that like might exist in that world. And so though it's kind of not likely because projectile weapons are so underused in that world, this would be something if someone would want to commission a Atreides pattern Lynx, this would probably be, I would be willing to make a duplicate blaster in that case. Usually not something I'm super into doing. I think the shrouds give off the same good, it's gorgeous. I think the shroud does give off some good Atreides vibe. Yeah, it's just that I love my eSun PLA filament. I hate this spool of filament, and I finally finished it when I had to print a second shroud for this. It just the sheen, and then the fact that I had that Army Painter gold. Where's that pot of paint? Oh, it's right here. Just the bright gold by Army Painter. I use it as a highlight on my custodes. It matches the warmth of the gold so nicely, and it originally I was gonna go white for this portion of the shroud, and I still think it would look good with white, but it's kind of, it gives off that it feels more proud and more like it's like he's gonna fight you fair for honor, which is a very Atreides thing. Good idea being dangerous, so computers are. It's a real cool setting. I haven't delved far into the setting, but I think that might be something I do over the summer while I travel a lot, and I listen to so many audiobooks over the summer, but I might finally listen to the rest of the Dune series and dive into the world a little bit more. No, it will not be named Paul. It will probably be like, if I leave it a dedicated HvZ blaster, I might name it like Usul, because the prime is so ridiculously light. Oh man, I need a dart now. We're gonna just pull them. The prime is so ridiculously light that it kind of gives that like walk soft and smart vibe, but I could also be, my original plan when I was going to build myself a Lynx was to have kind of a, and I probably will still do this, is to have it live in a dedicated carrying case with spare springs and barrels, as well as a guide for what barrel and spring combinations to get what performance levels, so I can, in the field, pull apart, replace, throw back together. And so I kind of like the idea of, if I stick with that concept, do like Muad'Dib, you know, the one who shows the way, the one who brings the worlds together. But it also could be Stilgar. I don't know. We'll see if and when it earns a name, which it may well do in a couple weeks. I mean, maybe. The thing is, my little brother's named Paul, so I don't think I could do that. Yeah, the gold's very regal, very nice. I advise only reading the first two. Get stranger from the rare people being worm gods and stuff. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about is it Paul's son? Is it, oh, not Leto, because Leto died. Spoilers, I guess. Is Paul's son the second Atreides emperor who like becomes like half human, half maker, and like, I don't know. I'm also kind of interested to see how crazy stuff goes, because like I'm a huge fan of Olson Scott Card's first like half dozen Enderverse books, like up through the two books that covered the human unification wars with Ender's older brother becoming hegemon and being and all the other, you know, Ender's Geesh and whatnot, kind of fighting the war to unify humans post Bugger Wars. And then of course Ender Shadow is an incredible book. And then the actual sequels to Ender's Game. So Spirit for the Dead, Xenocide, Children of the Mind, I love those books. But then, like, once these started fleshing out the, like, Bean's kids lineage, and then the first Contact book was not good, like, it started to fall apart, but, like, still a cool thing. Yeah, Dune really makes the sandworms and their magical powers into the galaxy. Yeah. Like, xenophobia stuff's kind of got weird in Ender series. Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I really like it, is it fully delves into, like, xenophobia and what that could mean and how that could be a dangerous thing, but a thing, and like a good thing for humanity that then it's... I think it's very interesting. I don't think it's the most, you know, accurate prediction to what that future for humanity may look like. However, I do think it's a very interesting one. And the system for, like, faster than light FTL communication is really cool. Though it's based in quantum entanglement, which is kind of questionable at the moment. But at least it's not based on string theory, because fuck string theory. That shit stuff doesn't work. Yeah. Again, I think well, I don't know. I really enjoy the books centered around Bean in the Ender series. I think they deal with the human condition very well. As well as just kind of being a light discussion of, like, where do we draw the line of what is human and what's not, because I mean, Bean's a GM. Any of you who don't know this lore and want me to not talk about it, just holler and I'll stop. But, you know, Bean was a, you know, experimented on fetus that, basically he was, his, the prompt is that his developmental cycle never got ended. So he was able to learn constantly at the same rate as a toddler does. Or, you know, a young child, a toddler, you know, your quote unquote most formative, your most intellectually expanding years. Those never ended for him. But by that same mechanism, his brain was always given priority over nutrients and resources by his body, so the rest of his body developed very slowly, and then his whole body it never stopped developing and growing. So while he was always the smallest kid, and kind of the immediate books about him, there's one about his kids, and it's called is it Shadow of the Giant, maybe? And it's these three kind of just prickish kid characters that I don't really enjoy, and they refer to him as the Giant and Father, and he's just this big hulking kind of, honestly, I kind of pictured him similar to, like, the Duke Harkonnen of just this big overgrown fat mass, but his brain had begun to deteriorate because his body couldn't be healthy enough. It's an interesting world, and I think it got a little too wide in scope, because again, I think the 4 books about Ender are the best, And then Ender's Shadow is probably also up there. Then I would suggest the I think it's Shadow War and then Shadow of the Hegemon. Because of course all of Bean's stuff has to be shadows because he's in Ender Shadow, which is just a little too edgelord for me. It's like, come on. He's the most he's your anime protagonist character and you're making him always stand in the shadow of other characters. How quaint. How groundbreaking. Okay, Snark done. Also, Scar Card, if you ever hear that rant, just trust me, I do enjoy your books. But no, we'll probably look into Dune more this summer. Also, anyone excited for part 2 of the new Dune movies? I thought they did a pretty good job with part 1. That lose everybody. I'm trying to keep what I'm doing on camera, but it's kind of hard when working in such tight confines. I'm basically just cutting a rectangle out of right in front of this trigger guard that my switch will hopefully pretty soon slot right into. And then I definitely cut too wide in at least one spot, so just have to do a little bit of putty work to smooth that out. But that's not the end of the world. Definitely went too wide in a couple spots. Again, too bad I'm eventually gonna paint this and so it can hide so many crimes. Although it might be very interesting to be able to show people, you know, mid-process a build like this, because not a lot of YouTubers do that. Not a lot of people do that, because, like, come on, we want to see. The only guy I know for certain does that, and it's because I always find it so cool to watch his process, is the Blaster Show. He makes some of the coolest combi. I like, you can only call them combi weapons because they're the craziest integrations that end up looking so cool. But like, it always feels like as soon as he finishes the project and then like gets them painted, gets them cleaned up, gets them painted, he puts them away forever. Again, I don't know the guy. I met him at Inward a couple years ago. But I love seeing his stuff on Instagram and his occasional video on YouTube. If you don't follow him or subscribe to him on either platform, highly suggest him. Very, very cool stuff and really, really cool custom blaster builds. Okay. I think that's my fit, yeah? Well, took us 3 streams, 4 streams. But I finally cut myself with the X-Acto knife. Bloodthirsty little bastard. There we go. I'll grab the other one because I know I've trimmed the bezel on this one already. It's also already got the wires connected. Alright, talk to me, Goose. Where are we stuck? That corner. Cool. That's sitting nice and up in there. Yeah. It's right where we want it, right under our index finger. Semi-auto, full auto. Fuck yeah. Okay, definitely gonna need some. Well, how much does the bezel cover? Bezel covers most of that, actually. That could be fine, at least for now. I can do some finishing work later. I'm just not quite letting that clip pop up. Okay. Just have to go in and out of the angle. It sits flush. All right. Cool. Well, that's in there and nice and clicky. It's 11. Let's do this. Because with that, I've got the fitments all there for all my switches. Let's really quick throw this together enough to be able to do a little bit of a control ergonomic test, just to kind of feel it out. And I can talk y'all through what I think about with that stuff. Of course, weight, which is a huge part of ergonomics, it's not going to be accurate because I'm only going to put the switches in. There's my trigger switch. Sits right here. I think that'll be interesting. That'll be a little last thing from little last talking point, then we'll call it a night. You know, definitely had a much more thoroughly productive stream last time, but I don't care. We always have fun, and as long as we're making progress, and as long as I have a blaster to run for UMBC, which I'm hoping to be able to stick around most of Sunday for the open games, though we will see. I have to fly to New Hampshire that Monday, so that will be fun. And then my screw. So on the inside, what am I thinking about when I'm setting placement for my controls on the inside of a blaster? A lot of this revolves around your hand, right? And a lot of it's subjective, and a lot of it is also just biomechanical in proportions. For me, a rev trigger should be most comfortable when it's on. So your hand should you should close your hand around the grip and it should rev the blaster. So because of this, I have taken about 3 millimeters of travel outward, away from my rev trigger, as well as made sure that on the full compression, while I am using the Foam Blast Scoop rev trigger because it sits my finger very nicely, the rev trigger bottoms out as far against the grip as possible, as well as having multiple points of stoppage. What do I mean by that? Hold on, this switch is not quite seated right. There we go. So obviously the rev trigger itself will rest up against this plate. I also want either, in this case, the switch arm to fully compress up against the switch body and then have the switch be well supported, which this is just a pin that is well seated into the milli put down here, as well as a screw that goes to the original screw post. Or I would want, if say I didn't want that full travel, I would want the switch swing arm to stop on something like this post here. Or I would want to take the swing arm off entirely and just have the rev trigger impinge onto the actual button on the switch. Similarly, there is a point in your index finger in which you can curl your index finger and nothing else in your hand will move. For me, it's about there that the rest of my hand starts to move. So it's just there, and it's ideally you are able to sculpt your whole grip around your hand, because also the way you hold your hand in relation to that trigger finger, the index finger, affects how much movement you're going to be. And all of this is just little things to decrease the amount of motion in your blaster, which will increase your accuracy because you have less involuntary movement interacting with it. Now, does this all matter for Nerf? Not particularly. It's fun, it makes your blaster more comfortable. If your blaster is more comfortable, it's easier to use throughout your day, which is why I pay extra attention to it. That's also why I don't run thumb hole stocks anymore, because that was really uncomfortable on my wrists. I love the look of thumb hole stocks. I think for aesthetics, they are a wonderful thing to have in your design toolbox. However, just the amount of it puts that impingement point kind of right on your wrists when you're kind of resting and hanging on it, and I could not deal with that because you spend so much of your time, especially in HvZs, just walking around. To that end, also the stock length of pull. A great quick check is to just hold it like this, hold your blaster like this with a 90-degree bend in your elbow. Your ideal length of pull for your body will be about where that stock will sit into the crevice of your elbow, right there. Now again, this one's a little bit off, but if I shoulder it and I'm still comfortable with where that sits, and when I'm in what that relationship is the angle in my elbow to my shoulder and my hand to shoulder and the way my shoulder carries. And if I can sit here for like 2-3 minutes at least without feeling fatigue, then you're fine. To that end, also the selector switch, when you're dealing with things that are select fire, put it somewhere where you don't have to change your grip to use it. Again, I've put this under my right index finger because it's a good spot for it on the inside of the shell as well. Under your firing hand thumb is a good option. You could even do it maybe down here on the grip, though that would make transitioning hard. The Moto Blitz is a surprisingly perfectly thumb hole bullpup. Really, I haven't gotten to mess with the Moto Blitz much. I will say the thumb hole in the Raven's not that bad. But yeah, in general, again, I love the aesthetics of thumb holes, but not great. I always feel thumb holes also are a little more comfortable on bullpups. I don't know if that's because like the cutback on the back of the grip maybe isn't as sharp because you might be coming straight back to a magwell. But yeah, they tend to be a little better on bullpups. However, that being said, I obviously did not opt for a thumb hole on the Lynx, because why would you mess with the comfort of the Lynx? But speaking of length of pull, with the Lengths stock extension here, it's actually a really good example of length of pull. It's maybe a couple millimeter too long for me, actually, as to seat it in my elbow like that. My right hand is not fully holding the grip, it is loosened up. Ideally, I would be able to hold the grip like that and have it sit. So I'm maybe 5 to 10 millimeter too long here. But again, for a bullpup, that matters less because your left hand, your offhand, is not going to be as far forward. Hot swappable cages on a Raven, that's awesome. Use both HvZ and competitive. Yeah, that's basically the concept I want for my Lynx, is to be able to hot swap it to competitive or super stock or HvZ or whatnot. So yeah. The other main thing with ergonomics is the whole bullpup slash traditional setup. I'm gonna be completely honest. If you're running a bullpup flywheeler, you are only hindering yourself from a purely analytical standpoint, because the further towards your muzzle your flywheels are, the more efficient your system's gonna be. Also, it is statistically easier to reload from a traditional style firearm replica of any sort. However, the caveat is you can train yourself to reload a bullpup just fine. It just takes training. You should also drill and train on your traditional setup. So it can just be a preference thing. I prefer standard, but again, I really like the Lynx, and so I'm going with that for my current Springer primary. Doesn't grab my wrist, would extend the trigger forward half an inch. Yeah, so that's what I was about to get through. That's actually, thank you for giving me that segue. So talking about just my kind of instruments here, selector under my index finger is just perfect for me. Again, I kind of have long spindly hands, so this works out where I can get plenty of my finger on there to activate that switch. And the way this is wired up is in the middle, so we're basically at that 0 position. It's safe or off, so the firing trigger is dead regardless of if everything's plugged in and there's power running through it. If this is on 0, the trigger is dead. 1, which is up, is semi-auto, and then down is full auto, and that is because it feels more natural for me to push down and go straight to my trigger for that emergency full auto burst than it is to push up and then get back to it. For me, the shortness is competitive. Yes, that is definitely the argument for things like the Talon Claw and the Lynx that are those bullpups, those shorter springers, is the compactness is definitely an argument. Of course, that's the origin of the bullpup design, is trying to get that full barrel length in a smaller package. So now to the triggers. Obviously, I've got the Foam Blast mag release. That's because I will always activate it with my middle finger. And that's to the style of reloads I like for strifles, which Again, hopefully I'll do a drill live stream and I can talk to you all about that because I think it's fun. So the rev trigger, again, in order not to activate it, I do have to kind of knowingly hover my middle finger there. But in order to rev, all I have to do is think about closing my fist. And then my hand falls to a more comfortable position. I will have a heel fill for this grip, which makes it much more comfortable. So the more comfortable position is the active position here, which is very, very important to me, because that will make when you're actively using it more effective. And if it's really bothering you, you can always just shift your middle finger down or just release that hand off your grip if you're walking around. The firing trigger, which you were wanting to move the trigger half an inch forward, this is where a solenoid build is so nice, because usually the strife trigger pull comes back to, where would that be? This far back into my hand, which is a very uncomfortable place to curl my finger to. However, with the solenoid, that's my trigger break, that's my full trigger travel. My full travel is maybe a quarter of an inch, so like, what would that be, like 10 mil? Not even. Probably between 5 and 8 millimeter. So it breaks there, stops traveling there. And it's so nice and clicky. And that is a great length of pull for the trigger, where the only thing that is moving is my index finger, and I feel muscles in my forearm engaging and pulling that trigger, not just the muscles in my palm. So because I get to use bigger muscles, it is a more sustainable movement, and I will get tired slower. I've got some questions. PWM pulse MOSFET for the solenoid. So I have a SILD MOSFET and PWM board. Yeah, this is the control board. It runs off through a MOSFET for the solenoid, as well as giving me the select fire capabilities, and part of which is actually a PWM to set what the rate of fire actually is on the full auto. Why I went strife wood instead of Griffin? We talked about this earlier. I'm not a fan of the Griffin. I've built two, neither of which was a fun printing or building experience. I think there's some really good things about it. I just don't like the execution of it and the way the print and build experience is. I love how modular it is. I love how many different designs have come out of the community using it as a base. I just don't like it. Also, there's equally as many kits for the strife, so it gives you a lot of options. And there's the battery we're not going to need tonight because I'm not breaking out the soldering iron, but it'll be charged for tomorrow when I work on this a little bit tomorrow morning. Yes, so there's equally amount of kits. I did want to try out the mini strife kit, which I might try to make myself do a dedicated video about that portion of the build, as well as a dedicated portion about the rest of this build. So yeah, that's why strife instead of Griffin. Also, I'm iterating on my strifle series, my personal strifle series, so it only makes sense to stick with the strife. I've heard horizontal cages help with accuracy somehow. Yeah, I don't know about that. And honestly, right now, I can't even sit down and start to logic through why that might be true. I'm not sure. I know aesthetically, vertical flywheel cages tend to give you better looking blasters, but I know horizontal cages are very, very popular. It's a super short trigger travel. Yep, and that's kind of the point. Again, I've got long spindly fingers, and so I get a lot of benefits from that. One of which is obviously the semi-auto rate of fire I can achieve. which is why I usually have my board and PWM set to the highest rate of fire possible on full auto, because I need to be able to get some benefit out of it. Haven't particularly enjoyed the Griffin build process either. At least the latest iteration uses much less screws. I did notice that. I took a glance. I did look at doing a Griffin build instead of this. It did look like it used less screws, which is, I think, a step in the right direction. That might be something. I might give it a couple more years, and then I might revisit whatever that design lineage turns into. Because again, I don't like poo-pooing on things the community designs. I love that we have such a rich community of designers and people who make such cool things for our cool hobby. So yeah, that's I'm gonna end the rants on the Griffin there for tonight. Cool. So what are my next steps with this? There's some cleanup to be done on that switch placement. Just doing some milliput work, making sure that that's well and supported in there. Again, but I want to retain the fact that I can just open up the blaster and push that out. I'm not about to glue that into place. I need to finish getting these grip scales off at some point, because man, I hate those. I have some things to print. I need one of which is yet another solenoid cage, because I seem to have done it with the super glue on that one. Less than two. The HvZ is a week from this Saturday. So this project will probably not be finished for that event. However, it will be, I'm fairly certain it will be functional, as really the only major things I need to do are get the solenoid seated well and wire it. Yeah, April 15th. So it can be, I mean, if I dedicate some time to it tomorrow, I can have it functioning tomorrow. I don't think it's gonna get to paint before the event. I don't even know how clean it's gonna look before the event, but it will be functional, and I hope I get to run it. I am part of a feral squad, though I'm trying to think of it as a hunter squad for the auxiliary at UMBC, so we might die real fast. Any HvZ missions or stories? Not that I really have the wherewithal to relate tonight, but I'll think for a second and drop some mentions of them, and you can ask me next time. There was the HvZ mission I wrote, in which throughout running it it's like an hour-long one-mission game style. Throughout running it for an entire day, only 7 or 8 humans ever made it out alive, and we probably ran the mission at least 24 times. I could talk about Inwar 2019. Which was fun. It was very fun. Had a blast at that event. If only Duplicover had orange vinyl fabric dye. Do they not? It's not my colors anyway, but and I basically know what I want the paint job to be on this. It's just a matter of time. And taking out my airbrush which is going to be annoying to do. I might have to drag my airbrush outside to do it because I don't have an enclosure big enough in my apartment. Will you be recording at the event? My sergeant has asked me to. So I will be taking my GoPro at least. There may be a conflict of interest of me getting one of the longer life GoPro batteries from borrowing one of those from my brother. I will at least be taking my GoPro, and that's something I need to figure out soon is how I want to run it. I'm probably just run it on a head mount. That's the best luck I've had so far with it, though I've only gotten to test like 2 events. I might mount it to like my left shoulder ish on my vest. There's a bunch of Molly mounts on Thingiverse that you can print. Yeah, that I will be. I might do a little bit of a vlog kind of thing. I haven't quite decided what kind of content I'm gonna try to get out of the event. I really just want to go to the event to play, but I think I'd be a fool not to get something out of it. Let me know, and maybe if I think about it again, remind me Friday. Do you have a bump helmet or just? I usually just wear a hat. I don't own a bump helmet. So I usually just headband with a hat. So I know bump helmet's a really good way to run GoPro when you're doing active stuff. I interrupted my train of thought. Either I'll remember tomorrow or again plan for another stream Friday night to getting this guy functional. Remind me then, and I can do like an Instagram poll and see what people would be interesting. Is the 360 go to on the back of my hat? Yeah, if I had a 360 camera, I would definitely play with those setups. The ones on like back of the hat, and then people who do like the over the shoulder post, that footage ends up looking really good. But yeah, I'm not sure yet. I feel goofy wearing a bump helmet for HvZ. I might as well, but I enjoy the role play and I enjoy the kind of taking it overly seriously military aspect of running with the auxiliary, so I probably would be just fine running a bump. Yeah. Well, I think that's all I've got in me for tonight. Yeah, I'm gonna spend my hobby time tomorrow staring at Fusion 360 because I need to double one of those. I need to work on this, and I need to work on this. There's 3 designs I need to alter. Brandon Diaz does do great footage. I don't know what his setup is, but he gets really good game footage. Well, that's what we got for the night. I'll give y'all one last glance at the Atreides pattern links. The Atreides pattern soft pellet stunner, if you will. Just as a note for those who are curious for this, I am going to run the Crooked Cousin on this, at least for the HvZ, as my prime grip, because the oh shit shotgun blast is super handy. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. I'm glad we made a little bit of progress, even though today was busy. I'll look forward to seeing y'all next time, and yeah, see you then.